Well, hello and welcome. I'm glad that you're with us here as we continue our chronological read through of Scripture. Today we're going to begin the second of the three sermons in Deuteronomy. It's introduced to us in chapter 4, verses 44 to 49. If you recall, we didn't actually read those yesterday. We saved them for today. It's the longest of the sermons in Deuteronomy. It stretches from chapter 5, verse 1, all the way to chapter 26, verse 19. The sermon focuses on the gospel message that God elected and saved Israel as his people by grace alone. You'll notice that the covenant with Israel is performance-based. If Israel holds up her end of the deal, blessings will follow. If she does not, then punishment will follow. But Israel's election, Israel's redemption from Egypt, and the gift of the promised land, those are all pure gospel. God's grace in action without any merit or worthiness in Israel for herself. We're also going to hear how love is the essence of the Torah. Israel's response to the gracious gifts God has bestowed on her is to love Yahweh, and that love should motivate Israel to obey him in all things. Now, if that sounds familiar at all to you, it should, because the same is true of Christ. Christ chose us, redeemed us, and gives us life. Our response is to love and obey, love that obediently loves others. Moses then recounts for Israel how the Torah was received at Mount Horeb, that would be Mount Sinai, how at first God spoke to all of Israel, but they were too afraid. So God spoke to Moses, who then served as the mediator to Israel, and told them everything that God had said. Moses reiterated for them the 10 words, or the 10 commandments as we call them. And then he recounted how it pleased the people and God that he would serve as this mediator between them. Moses exhorts them to keep the commands that God has given, to love Yahweh, and to always teach their children of the deliverance God worked for them, and to teach them to obey his commands. Moses reminds them that it is by God's hand and by God's grace that they will inhabit the cities, cities that they didn't build, houses they didn't fill with that are filled with stores that they did not gather, that they'll harvest from vineyards that they didn't plant and draw from wells that they did not dig. All of this God has given them. Because of that, they should fear God, they should love God, they should obey him, and they should teach their sons and daughters all of the things that God has done for them and is doing for them. Moses then goes on to tell the Israelites that they are to totally destroy the 7 nations that inhabit the land that God has given them. There are no treaties to be made with the people of the land because those people will lead them to destruction. Israel is to hate the gods and the idols of the land so that they totally destroy them, including even the silver and the gold that covers those idols. Everything is to be destroyed. When they look at the peoples and see that they are more numerous and more powerful than Israel herself is, they are not to despair, but to remember how God defeated Egypt for them. Indeed, they're not supposed to go out and try to conquer all of the land at once too quickly, lest the wild animals take over and because they're unable to fill the land. God will give them victory, and if they obey him completely, God will bless them. They will be fruitful. The land will be fruitful, their wombs will be fruitful, so that they grow and prosper and fill the land. But if they are not thorough and do not completely obey as God has commanded them, then they will be ensnared by the sins of those who occupied the land before them, and they themselves will perish, as those who God had sent them to punish were to have perished. Well, that will end our reading for today. We'll pick that up again. Next time. May God be with you and bless you. And as always, I pray that you are continuing to learn and to grow.